Everybody on the res calls me a retard about twice a day. They call me a retard when they're pantsing me or stuffing my head in the toilet or just smacking me upside the head. I'm not even writing this story down the way that I actually talk because I have to fill it with stutters and lisps, and then you'd be wondering why you're reading a story written by such a retard. Do you know what happens to retards on the res? We get beat up. At least once a month. Yep, I belong to the Black Eye of the Month Club. Sure, I want to go outside. Every kid wants to go outside. But it's safer to just stay at home. So I mostly hang out alone in my bedroom and read books and draw cartoons. This quote is from The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, written by Sherman Alexie with artwork by Ellen Forney. It's a realistic fiction novel, and the story is about Arnold Spirit Jr., who's the story's protagonist, and that was a quote from him. That quote in particular shows how he feels about himself. You heard that he calls himself a retard on more than one occasion, and he's even drawn a picture of himself in the novel. You can tell he's real gangly and kind of awkward looking, and he's even given himself a stutter and a lisp in his talking bubble right here. But Arnold Spirit, he's a witty and intelligent 14-year-old, and he's a hydrocephalic, which means he was born with water on the brain. So he's susceptible to seizures, and he stutters and lisps, which is part of the reason why he thinks so lowly of himself. He lives on the Spokane Indian Reservation in a town called Welpanet with his mother, father, and sister. Arnold decides to transfer high schools to a nearby high school called Reardon. Well, actually not so nearby. It's 22 miles off the reservation. And it's an all-white town with an all-white high school. So at this point, he's labeled as a traitor by his entire reservation and by his best friend, Rowdy. And in the high school in Reardon, he's labeled as an outsider. So he doesn't really know where he fits in. And it's a constant struggle of figuring out who he is and what he has to do to achieve the goals he wants to achieve in life. I personally love this book. This book was hilarious. I laughed from top to bottom. It was great. It's very well written, and since it is a realistic fiction novel, and Sherman Alexie himself is also a Spokane Reservation Indian, it's very authentic. I would recommend this book as a mentor text in a classroom because it tackles a lot of different themes. It tackles themes such as identity, race, education, friendship, and a host of other themes. And the book itself actually includes a discussion guide with critical thinking questions for students. But I would also recommend it just as a leisure read. It only has a Lexile level of about 600, which is about 3rd to 4th grade reading level. So it means it's a very easy read, but I wouldn't recommend it for a reader quite that young because of the sexual nature and mild profanity in the book. But I'd like to leave you with the quote from the book. "You can do it," Coach said. He didn't shout it, he whispered it, like a prayer. He kept whispering it again and again, until the prayer turned into a song. And then, for some magical reason, I believed in him. Coach had become like the priest of basketball, and I was his follower. And I was going to follow him into the court and shut down my best friend. I hope so. "You can do it," Coach said. "I can do it," I said to Coach, to my teammates, to the world. "You can do it. I can do it." Do you understand how amazing it is to hear that from an adult? Do you understand how amazing it is to hear that from anyone? It's one of the simplest sentences in the world, just 4 words, but they're 4 of the hugest words in the world when they're put together. You can do it. I can do it. Let's do it.